The delegate from Fairfax, Delegate Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for a point of personal privilege.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and ladies and gentlemen of the House, yesterday we heard some remarks on the floor about the global energy market and the effect on the price of gas. I want to look at some facts, Mr. Speaker. Fossil fuel production in the U.S. is nearing records, yet Russia's actions remind us that real energy security comes from developing and improving new renewable fuel sources. Nothing else can shield us from the wild swings of global fossil fuel markets that happen so often. The simple fact is that domestic fossil fuel production has not insulated us from the price swings that we see so often from the actions of foreign governments. And for those folks concerned about drilling on federal land here in the United States, on public land and waters, and let's not forget that nearly 90% of onshore oil production in the U.S. takes place on non-federal land, the industry holds more than 9,000 unused approved permits to drill onshore. So domestic production is not the answer. The only way to become completely energy independent, Mr. Speaker, and to protect working Virginians from rising gas prices due to bad actors overseas is to continue to make Virginia a leader in the innovative energy production space. New wind and solar projects and storage and energy efficiency also, of course, mean more jobs for Virginians. For years, Mr. Speaker, Republicans stood by Donald Trump as he propped up Putin, and this is now what we face: a senseless war, a geopolitical crisis, and rising gas prices here at home. Republicans coddled and enabled President Trump for years as he cozied up to Putin and sold out Ukraine to appease him. Now, some may see these international events as a convenient way to launch political attacks. But our caucus here on this side of the aisle is focused on politics that provide major economic relief for working families who we all know are hurting today. Infant and toddler child care costs, for example, can be over $1,200 a month on average for Virginia couples. Virginia is leading, and that is leading many parents to decide to leave the workforce, Mr. Speaker. We also know that the Earned Income Tax Credit, President Reagan bragged, was the best pro-family and job creation measure of his presidency. Yet both the child daycare monies and the EITC were slashed from the House budget. If our colleagues across the aisle, Mr. Speaker, want to have an honest discussion about policies providing economic relief for working Virginians, come see us. We have lots of good ideas. So, Mr. Speaker, as our nation leads the global effort responding to Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, let's remember to focus on facts and solutions, not political talking points, and let's keep this in perspective rather than demagogue a crisis. We all know gas prices can fluctuate. Over the last 10 years, the average price of a gallon of gas has been as high as $3.90 and as low as $1.67. The last truly global crisis, the Great Recession, now 14 years ago in 2008, had gas above $4 in 2008 dollars, by the way. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, let's remember the moment in history we are living through. Not only are we emerging from an historic pandemic, with all the economic shock effects of a frozen and now a superheated economy, but we are a world in geopolitical turmoil, a real crisis. Democracy in the world order is literally at stake. We've spent some time on this floor talking and thinking about the events in Ukraine. And I have to say, Mr. Speaker, I was struck last week by an interview I saw of a member of Ukraine's parliament. Her name was Oleksandra Ustinova. And she was addressing the sanctions that the world has put on Russia. And she was arguing, pleading actually, Mr. Speaker, that we ramp them up even more, focusing on Russian oil. She acknowledged that this is affecting Americans, but then she drew a chilling contrast. She said, Americans are worried about paying 30 or 40 more cents at the pump. Ukrainians are dying. Now, Mr. Speaker, before anyone clips or slices my remarks here to create some political brochure, Sullivan or the Democrats aren't concerned about gas prices, please include this. Of course we are, and of course I am. We understand Virginians are hurting every time they fill up at the pump, and particularly, of course, lower-income Virginians. And we're going to have a chance to address that this week with our budget. And on this side of the aisle, we hope we pass some of these reforms and tax relief that will help lower-income Virginians. But in this world, in this moment, Mr. Speaker, let's count our blessings. Let's acknowledge that our challenges, our sacrifices, if we can even call them that, pale in comparison to those of the people of Ukraine and the growing number of refugees leaving Ukraine. Their homes, their schools are being bombed. Their fathers, brothers, and sons are falling on the battlefield. Their children are dying. Gas prices will come back down, Mr. Speaker. What's happening in Ukraine is forever. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.